Mexico's ongoing efforts to deter migrants heading north, the Israeli army ordered a mass evacuation of Palestinians from much of Khan Yunis, indicating that troops are likely to launch a new ground assault in Gaza Strip's second-largest city.
The order suggested Khan Yunis will be the target in the latest of Israel's repeated raids into parts of Gaza.
A Florida judge released the transcripts of a 2006 grand jury investigation into sex trafficking and rape allegations against the late millionaire and financier Jeffrey Epstein.
The investigation was the first of many by law enforcement.
A man was killed when fireworks exploded at his Pennsylvania home, state police said.
Michael Cross, 55 of Union City, was working in his garage when the blast occurred in the Erie County community. Neighbors soon arrived and helped get Cross away from the flames.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host or guest and should not be interpreted as statement of fact. Independent fact-checking and corrections are encouraged.
Can we get a cup of coffee in here, please?
Damn good coffee and hot.
Yep, it is damn good coffee and hot.
My dog is your mind's best friend.
No, he's not.
Wake up, America. You've got a dog that needs walking. That's right, sunshine. Just put on a big pot of strong coffee and get ready to type your little hate mail with your opinions about kumbaya and flat earth insanity. Stand-up comedy? You want stand-up comedy? Well, we've got sit-down comedy. It's time for Coffee with a Dog. You make me laugh.
This is how I'm going to try to make you laugh. I'm just going to, which is actually a singing exercise. I'm not doing anything better than that. I am exhausted. I need a week off, a month off, a year off. Oh, come on, guys. Hit that note. Thank you. And musicians, you can't work with them. You can't work without them. Well, you can work without them. Good morning, folks. It is the 5th of July, 2024. I'm sure it's a holiday somewhere like some country somewhere, or maybe in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. It's a holiday and they're celebrating something. But if you're in America, you're celebrating the fact that you burnt a lot of money last night. I was out just as it started to get dark last night, just sitting in the lawn chairs out there, doing my own little fireworks show, which I'm a little skinny. Anyway, listening to the money being burnt in terms of fireworks. And I'm trying to count. I'm thinking, like, what if we put a dollar amount to every little boom, bang, bap, bap, bap? Oh, my God. My small little town, I must have heard, no kidding, several $1 million. Just pop, 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 pop. Just in the 10 minutes I was out there just to do my own little fireworks show. I was smoking a joint, all right? All right. So while I was doing that, I figured that I heard several $1 million being burnt. Now, I could be off. I could be way off. But I still think that the amount of money being burnt, if you take it nationwide in America, and for what? It's got to be several $1 billion people spend on fireworks yesterday to go bang, bing, beef. And it's over like that. It's not like people would say, well, you spend $10 on a joint. But that, first of all, it takes a good 15 minutes of smoke, and then the effects last a few hours. We spend $10 on a a firecracker, a media, whatever you're shooting off, and some of them are a lot more than $10. It lasts like less than 10 seconds, and so it's boom, bing, bing, bang, 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 and if that's your jolly, fine, spend your money that way. But if you're complaining about the economy and how bad things are, where the fuck are you getting money to just burn like that? America. I'm not just talking about the guy down the street. I'm talking about everybody who's doing it, because it was fucking pandemonium here. And I'm assuming this is a very small town. I'm assuming every small town in America, Jason Aldean, small town included, was blowing up their money, just blowing up their money. And we do it every year. But every year we're not complaining about the economy. A couple of things in the news. UK had an election yesterday. I guess they celebrate the fact that they no longer have to pay child support to the colonies. I don't know why they choose July 4th as their election day, but they had an election day. The Labour Party, which is the left in the UK, won by a dramatic landslide after, I think, like 14 consecutive years of red state, red, whatever they call it over there, the Conservative Party ruled over there, wiped out completely, like an embarrassing, almost like the 1927 Yankees against any Met team. That's what it was like. It's just just a terrible defeat. Anyway, there are a lot of people in this country who think that the United States trends in politics follow the UK. I don't necessarily buy into any of that kind of stuff. But it was definitely eye-opening because nobody expected that kind of landslide yesterday. The other thing that I would like to talk about in the news, and that the media isn't, they're all, Joe Biden is old, he needs to step down and all that stuff. You know what? I think there's no way Joe Biden is going to step down without his consent, and his consent requires his wife, maybe Harris, maybe a few of the people he really trusts, really convincing him to do it. Short of that, no matter what we say or anybody says, he's not going to do it. But that's what the news is talking about. Meanwhile, Jeffrey Epstein's information is coming out. The Epstein files are coming out, and it seems that Donald Trump is all over that stuff. Oh, but what about Bill Clinton, man? Fuck Bill. Yeah, Bill Clinton is not actually all over that stuff in the same way that Donald Trump is. And even if he were, Bill Clinton is not running for president or declaring himself immune and king and all that kind of stuff. Turns out the communication between Trump and Epstein was not just a thing of the past. They were still having phone calls, daily phone calls, up until like 2015, 2016. There's documentation that Donald Trump forced two 12-year-old girls to have lesbian sex for him to watch. And all sorts of dirty stuff. Like, the media's not covering that. It's not important. Let's get on Joe Biden. And there are people, I'm just going to say this. This is not my conspiracy theory. There are people who are professional pundits who said it's not a coincidence that the press and the media in the United States are covering for Donald Trump. Not a coincidence at all. And it makes sense on the level that Donald Trump is threatening to retaliate against his enemies. He has been granted permission to do that by the Supreme Court, to retaliate against his enemies if he wins. So the messaging that's being put out there, and these are not necessarily leftist pundits. These are people who were Republican Party RNC people for years and years are saying that the press is intimidated. They're scared. They're covering their ass because they don't want to be retaliated against by King Donald. And so they're purposely not covering the Epstein stuff. They're not talking about it. Tell you who's shitting his diaper, his underwear, because he doesn't take his underwear off. Alan Dershowitz. All the people who were saying, I can't wait till the Epstein files come out. Well, now the information's coming out. Hey, who's pushing for this stuff to come out? Well, we don't need this stuff in the middle of an election. Who needs it's all election interference. I think the American people have a right to know if their candidate is forcing young girls to have lesbian sex. According to the documents, Trump had his eye on a 10-year-old girl. Not, and like, not. Listen, the guy's got anybody who doesn't believe that Donald Trump is a fucking pervert, by now, your head's up your ass. Your head's way too far up your ass to see the truth. We know he is, and you can point to some people. Listen, there are Democrats in the information. There are definitely Bill Clinton is in there, but not to the extent that Donald Trump is in there. But why is the media? Why is the New York Times still just saying Biden's too old? Biden's too old. Never mind. Trump has as many senior moments, if you want to call them that. Then there's a whole. It's definitely one-sided coverage right now, and it makes you wonder if there is something to this idea that they're intimidated. The press, the media, is intimidated by the potential King Donald. One last thing I want to talk about is Joe Rogan and Terrence Howard, revisiting that, and Eric Weinstein. Just saw a short yesterday after, I don't know, Rogan was talking to some comedian or something, and they were both saying, "Oh, he makes a lot of sense. I understand what he's saying." No, you don't. You don't understand. He's not making any sense. Joe Rogan needed Eric Weinstein to come on and prove that 1 times 1 equals 1, because he did not have the wherewithal or the common sense even to debate Terrence Howard on that. So he needed Mr. Brainiac over here, Mr. Lots of degrees up the ass, to debate 1 times 1 equals 1. If you have something, now times is multiplication, right? If you have one thing, 1 time, it's pretty simple just to say, here, I'm going to give you this 1 time. How many do you have? 1. Okay? You don't need Eric Weinstein to come in and talk in mathematical jargon and equations and prime numbers and all that kind of stuff to point out. And here is the simplest common sense debate on that. If 1 times 1 equals 2, everybody in the world would be wanting to get paid in $1 bills. Oh, well, it just automatically became 2. I'm going to go to the bank with my $1 bill. I have $1 bill 1 time and I get 2 back. Oh, that's amazing. And you could just keep doing that for everybody. Would be able to double their money by getting paid in ones. 1 times 1 is not 2. And you could talk about parallel universes, different frequencies, wazoo, kumbaya, law of attraction. 1 times 1. But here's the thing. Now, this is the problem with Rogan and these people who have gotten so far into doubting everything that like there is no objective truth. 1 times 1 is an objective truth. You can't get away from that. Not in this physical reality that we live in. But if you need somebody smarter than you to explain that to somebody who's clearly not smarter than you. The only possible good outcome of the Terrence Howard thing would have been convincing him to get psychiatric help. And, well, he's obviously a really smart guy. Nah, there are lots of kinds of intelligence and all this stuff, but he's a guy who memorizes terms that he's heard, but can't use them in context. So as a musician, if I taught you, a songwriter or music theorist, if I taught you what a certain musical term is, you could repeat it all day long, but if you don't understand the concept, you don't really understand the music theory behind it. Same thing with Terrence Howard. He just knows words he's heard, but he can't put them into functionality or understand what they really mean. So it's easy to confuse somebody who has no background in the discipline that you are somewhat educated. He's not even somewhat educated. And he is a guy who's desperately, and I think the world is full of people like this, desperately wants people to appreciate them as being smart or have some value or have some special knowledge that you don't have. And so this is where, flat earthers come in. This is where moon landing is fake comes in. This is where the whole Alex Jones path in life begins, is we can't agree that 1 times 1 equals 1. I'm going to play one commercial for you one time, and then we will meet people who you probably wish you would meet no times or something. Anyway, maybe I need a little ketamine to wake up. Here, have this. I say have this.
Mind Bloom is helping people achieve life-changing clinical and personal breakthroughs, alchemizing both the psychedelic medication, psychiatric care from psychiatric clinicians, coaches, we call psychedelic guides, and a lot of content and meditations and programs into this really transformational experience that, because it's delivered at home, costs a lot less and is a lot more convenient for people to receive.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen, the sitcom or cheese, Ron Kane, and PC Richard. PC Richard, get your appliances today at PC Richard.
Good morning, America. MindDogTV.com. Did you lose a digit or two yesterday? Come to MindDogTV.com and get 50% off of your fingers. New fingers. MindDogTV.com. Enjoy the suffering.
50% off your fingers? Is that like an AI thing? An AI rendered a picture of yourself? Get 50% off your foot. Captain John Lafitte is with us up there.
I still got my toes. It's July 5th. I still have my toes, everybody.
One of your neighbors doesn't. I don't know, neighbors. Some dude. I take the whole state as your neighbors. Some dude in West Pennsylvania blew himself up. It said in the news report he was working in his garage when he blew himself up with fireworks. Here's the thing, and this is a tip for anybody. And I'm not generally for the civilians to having fireworks, but if you're gonna do it, go outside, not in the garage. Go outside and shoot them off. If you're shooting them off in the house or the garage, chances are you're going to be in the news.
Do they know who he was voting for? I think I'm
assuming that. Yeah, I'm assuming that most of the boom bang bangs I'm hearing are lit by somebody wearing a red hat. That's all.
2 years ago,
you're not in the right neighborhood then.
I was in this small town in just north of here, like an hour and 20 minutes, called Pottstown. And I was there on July 4th, and that was the only place I've ever been to where it was like a fucking war zone all day on July 4th. We were leaving the city of Pottstown. It was so smoky. There was shit going off. You thought you were in like Beirut or fucking Palestine.
I was thinking about that last night. Like people who because there are people in living in this country who not too long ago lived in places like Israel where bombs do drop, and they have bomb shelters in almost every apartment building. Those people, what it must feel like to hear that, because it does sound like a war zone. Last night I'm thinking this is what people in combat hear all the time, and it's like people getting killed. The only difference is every time you hear one of those pops, it's not a bullet coming your way, but it sure sounds like that. So it must cause some PTSD with some people who have actually been in areas where they do that all the time, Beirut, wherever.
Let's say in my town, it's our favorite game every year. Is it bullets or is it a firework?
Well, I wouldn't brag about that.
No, I'm not bragging about it at all. It's horrifying.
I go by, is it a firework or dismemberment? That's my gauge.
But how much?
Go ahead.
Just how much money do you think was spent nationwide on boom?
Probably $2 billion as a whole.
Good guess. I think that's a good guess. Somewhere in the billions. Fucking crazy. But then, Friday morning comes. It is Friday, right? Feels like a Monday. And we're going to be complaining about the economy. Gas prices are too high. Grocery prices are too high. You just spent $700 on 30 minutes of smelling sulfur. I don't know. I'm angry. I'm not in a good place.
We went to the fireworks show downtown. We didn't pay for anything.
Somebody paid for it.
Well, I mean, but that's fine.
When professionals do it and it's got some show value and whatever community, I don't know. It brings people together. That's much better than just the idiot down the block spending his entire paycheck or 2-week paycheck on just blowing shit up. And for what? Like, how fucking old are you? The thrill wears off. For me, the thrill wore off before I was 10 years old. It's like,
I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm 33. I still love blowing shit up. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Well, I wouldn't brag about
this.
That.
Is from Hagerstown, Maryland or something.
I thought you were going to say Sesame Street.
Big Bird.
Yeah, apparently there were people out in the middle of the night setting off fireworks, and they all dressed up like Big Bird, Elmo, Bert, and Ernie.
Now, see, that's a good use of fireworks right there.
Yeah, that's a good time.
But there's also nothing better than taking an M80, putting it in a mailbox, and blowing it up. I don't
think there's something better than that. Yeah, there's plenty of things better than that.
I could think of I could probably make a list, and for the rest
I could also make a list. Damn it, guys!
I can take my M80 and stick it in my wife's mailbox and blow shit up, and that would be more fun.
So listen, we all know you're working with the firecracker. It's fine, GD. It's fine. I didn't mean to trigger you there.
Hey.
How many people today can't start a round of applause?
Hopefully enough of them that were trying to vote can't lost their voting hands.
See, now this is a Trevor Howard question for me. Or diminished fifth. I could get into like some stuff that would confuse people, but diminished fifth is pretty simple. You guys, GD, you know what a diminished fifth is, right?
Yeah, a diminished fifth is when someone takes a sip of your liquor before selling it to you.
Oh, I thought a diminished fifth was when you buy a fifth and then you just knock it out before you leave the store.
It says "ooh," not you. Ooh.
Or it had an extra chromosome.
I was typing fast. At the open mic at the Mr. Tongue open mic on Monday, there was a veteran on the stage who says that it bothers him that people seem to think that fireworks triggers veterans, because if they're real veterans, they know the difference between, if they've seen real battle, they know the difference between a firework and an ordnance round.
Right. I have to answer this question for Ian in simple terms. In any scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tones, and 8 and 1 are the same, so there's really 7 tones. You count up to the 5th, and you bring it back a half step. That's down a half step. That's what it is. So let's just say the C scale. C is 1, D is 2, E is 3, F is 4, G is 5, G flat or F sharp is the diminished fifth. So your chord would not
technically G flat is the diminished fifth, and F sharp would be an augmented fourth.
Right.
So a diminished fifth is a G spot, is what you're saying.
Only in the key of C.
No, I'm not saying
and
that.
then it's not C.
I'm saying it's taking the fifth and diminishing it a little bit. That's what it is. It's not really that difficult.
Yeah, that's what, and that means something totally different in legal jargon when you take the fifth and then diminish it a little bit.
Whatever, man. I ain't no magician, or I don't play music.
Right. Our guest was here but left. I think he got scared from the. I don't know whether it was me talking about the UK or whatever it was, but he popped out.
It's because you were trashing fireworks, you bastard. Now he's all gone and mad.
Well, he might have actually in a place where they don't really do stupid stuff like that.
They changed his bandages from yesterday's accident.
He was probably sitting there like,
he's in
wow,
northern northern Europe. I think he's in somewhere in Scandinavia. I don't know where.
I think he left to check his calendar because he was in the room and nobody acknowledged him, and so he's like, "Do I have the right day? Let me back out and check."
I think he had the wrong time because and I have my for 10:15, not 9:15. So I think he had the wrong time zone issues. But whatever, he might be back at 10:15.
We'll see.
It just doesn't matter. Feels like a Monday to me, and it's Friday. These days in the middle of the week that we take off. Now, I'm certain that a lot of people are making a 4-day holiday out of this, and they're not listening to this right now. They're not driving to work. They're not doing anything that they should be doing. They should be doing stuff like listening to us. But for them, it's just another excuse to sleep in, like I had yesterday, and not do a show.
I think just about everybody I know is working today.
Somebody last night on Facebook said, a comedian, "Are there any open mics tonight?" Like, dude, you know what? The first thought, well, that's commitment. You're willing to go out and do an open mic on 4th
or loneliness,
or all of it, or just desperation. But it's like, dude, do you really feel like somebody? You might as well just sit in your living room. You're gonna see the same amount of people. It's the same open mic, whether you're doing it for your wall or somebody else's wall.
Monday and Tuesday were really good nights. I was very surprised how decent the nights were, especially being on a holiday week. But I didn't go out on Wednesday night because I figured that would just be a display of sadness, whatever mic you went to. Then
imagine Thursday night. Yeah.
Oh.
Thursday night wasn't even a question. I didn't even stop to think to myself, gee, Thursday night, what would I want to be doing? I was doing it. I was at home.
Who wants to hear comedy?
You're pretty much calming the cats down. You know what was interesting? Because sitting out there with the kaboom, kaboom, boom, boom, the ferals don't seem to get as racked up as the indoor cats. They kind of just the humans doing. They do this all the time, but it's only once a year. How do they know what date it is, or that we do it all the time? I don't know. Deers don't get rattled. The turkeys did get a little bit like not sure where to go, but the cats just stay in their normal place. So
around here, I'm not saying here, I mean in my yard, because I'm right next to an orchard. They use air cannons a lot. So it's like almost everything around here is so used to hearing something explode, So.
I'm sorry. What are you next to that uses air cannons a lot?
An orchard.
Why would they use air cannons a lot in an orchard?
To scare away birds and deer.
Really? I did not know that. I've been in many, many orchards. Never had air cannons.
Maybe they didn't have a bird and deer problem.
Maybe.
Okay.
I never heard of that.
I've been in many orchards where I have to whip the help during the day.
Yes. No, that is definitely a thing. I mean, I've worked in orange groves, kind of like orchards, same thing. But yeah, whipping the help is one thing, but air cannons. And
Okay, now Ron will appreciate this. Around here, the signs are up where it says "Pick your own produce" for like $2 or something. Pick your own produce. Sorry, Ron, I'm not going to step on your joke and stuff, but I know you appreciate that. The signs are up around here.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
It would be good if you could clue the audience into what the fuck you're talking about. Maybe.
No, that's Ron's purview. I'm not going to do Ron's material.
You started.
No, I didn't.
You did.
No, they started it by putting the signs up. I'm just repeating what I read.
All right. Why you got to be difficult with everything in your life? Why?
He sounds like
no wonder
Biden
your mother
now.
wanted to do aborted.
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving.
No, that's the difference between myself and Biden. I would have left. I would have stepped down and made Kamala the president, and I would become the VP candidate.
Would you really?
Yeah.
Just swap it around. See, I think if he's going to step out, and I don't think he's going to step out. And I've always said that I think it would be good for everybody if he did. But I wouldn't be the VP. He may stay on as a consultant, something like that. But
well, if the election is won, then yeah, sure, step down. But people really hate change. They really do hate change, and they're not good at it. So this is more like a subtle change. You still have the same two names on the ballot. So to them, they're still voting for the same ticket. To many, because most people don't pay attention to the nuances.
Yeah. But I think most people are just at the point now. They need somebody that at least can breathe regularly on a daily basis, and that is not Trump. I think that's the bar at this point. They just need somebody a little younger that's not going to stutter and dotter all over the place. We just need a capable pulse in there.
The problem I'm really having is the way they're treating Biden's age more weighted than all of Trump's shit.
Right.
Okay. It should not be treated like this. Biden's age, all of Trump's shit. It should be like Biden's age.
Talk about it, man. Here's what the thing is. Do you think they're right that the press, because you're right, that is happening. Do you think the press is intimidated by the fact that Trump is threatening retaliation against them?
It would depend on the news organization, because the New York Times is owned by, is that the one that's owned by Murdoch?
No,
but that's Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, Wall Street Journal and the Post and all those, but no, not the New York Times.
Because I don't know who the parent company for the New York Times. Sometimes the parent company is more vested in conservative politics and conservative victories than the actual news organization. And if they're taking the orders from above, so I'm not privy enough.
Well, let me just give you a little history. The New York Times has always been kind of left-leaning, with the exception of the Iraq War and WMDs, where they backed Bush's claims of WMDs. But except for that, up until the last year or two, they've always been considered left-leaning, but the gray lady of truth and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think they're alone in their treatment of Biden, of Trump and Biden, the unequal treatment of them. And I do think there is some credence to this. Number one, they love people buying papers and or ratings on their webs and traffic to their website and all that stuff. They love Trump for his effect on the bottom line.
Yes,
but I do think they also are a little bit scared.
I think I think it's lazier than that. I think because Biden is the easier story, because the other story, I mean, GD's right. They're hammering Biden on his age, but where's all the shit hammering Trump on all the crazy shit that he said, from the black jobs to like I'm cool with genocide to just all the lies where they should both be getting hammered. Biden should be getting hammered on his age, fair enough, and Trump should just be getting hammered on the piece of garbage that he still is.
And they both have the age issue. Okay, it's not like Biden is getting older and Trump isn't.
Okay? And one guy is desperate for power, and one guy is desperate for power. And if you know anything about history, desperation for power is never good, and you can see it.
I was just gonna point that out. Like, of all of the things Trump said, shouldn't the one thing that he said outweigh it all? Where he said he's not going to accept the results of the election if he loses.
Yeah.
That right there is such a Hitler move. That is a dictator move. That is a move that is scary.
It's a dick move, not just a dictator. It's also a dick move.
That should outweigh everything that's everyone's focusing on, but they don't care because Biden's old.
Yeah, and Biden did not attack him well at all during the debate, which he, someone that was maybe a little more with it, like could have. But then for Biden to come out and say, "Well, I had a cold and all this shit," it's like, motherfucker, this was important, and you fucking dropped the ball. So it's like
I don't think you've ever had the experience of trying to argue with somebody who just you can't stay on point. It's like a lion tamer. With the reason they use a chair because it divides the attention. Four prongs on the bottom of the chair. The lion doesn't know which one to address. When Trump responds with 14 issues of bullshit, and Biden's there thinking, "How do I count? I can't count every one of those." It was. Right. I don't think it's reading the transcript. I did not watch the debate, but reading the transcript, I don't think a young person who was trained in debate and that's all they do would handle that well, because without fact checking, without somebody keeping the guardrails of truth as parameters to a debate, you can't address 14 pieces of bullshit in a minute and a half and then get your point out about the actual question too. It
can be done. It's just like I said, honestly, the way I would have done it would have been totally different. I would have just addressed the fact from the very beginning. For one, I would have just said, "Look, every time Trump tells a lie, I'm going to take an imaginary shot." Okay, because the camera's on both of them, and you don't have to address it.
Biden didn't that without the fucking silliness of the shot. He said when his lips are moving, he's lying. Every word out of his mouth is a lie.
But he says that one time. But if you get the repetitive motion, people will need the
9 times during the debate.
People need repetitiveness for something to step in. And also, Biden would have just addressed the fact that Biden sat there staring at Trump in disbelief. It's like, I can't believe he's telling all these lies. Look, they both agreed to the fact that there'd be no fact checking. Okay, so I put that on both sides. They agreed to no fact checking, and we lost because of that. So, I'm sorry, huh?
You say we lost. Are you on Team Biden? You're
No, we as in the country. Those who watched the debate.
I don't think so. I'm sorry. And I don't think. I'll come back to my pre-debate prediction, and I think is correct, because most people will say that the debate did not change anybody's mind about which side they're going to vote for. They might want Biden to slip, but they're not voting for Trump. And nobody changed their vote. If you're voting Democrat, you're voting Democrat. If you're voting Trump, you're still voting Trump. If you're voting for an independent,
but they're fighting for the middle. They're fighting for that 4 or 5% of the people who make a difference in the swing states. That's what they're really fighting for.
I don't think they changed either. I don't think anybody changed their vote, whether it's left, right, or middle. And I think
the consensus after the debate is anybody but Trump. But we need somebody that's got a better pulse than Biden. That's it. Because Trump didn't win anybody. He just made himself look even crazier. And
he made a threat about a MAGA coup and lost everybody that he had left, which is great. Yeah. But now Biden's barely awake and alive and functioning within reason.
And he won't step aside easily. But there's already the donors already backing off, and they're going to stop the flow of money. And once that stops, it's like, you got to leave, buddy, because we need this cash.
Now, they may stop giving the money to the Biden campaign directly, but two things have happened. One, that even if those coffers dry up somewhat, they'll probably still will give the money to down ticket ballots, which the money, and also to maybe to the DNC in general, but maybe not to Biden in particular. And also I think, I guess we have to wait to the next FEC filings to verify this. But my understanding is that the regular people money, the grassroots money has gone up. Now I don't know if that's desperation or fear showing their support or whatever. I don't know why, but that's more of a tell. The grassroots people are still there.
Yeah, I don't think he's got much. He doesn't have much longer left, because if he claims that he wants things to go well and things like this, well, this is history telling you, buddy, this is your moment to step aside and let someone younger, keep the ship righted at this point. If you want your legacy intact, you need to help the next person coming up, like ASAP, because they fucking.
Ron,
this is
you
what
should
no.
go. You should go to the nursing home and try to talk one of those people
Now, this
into
is
giving
what the
up some remote
Democrats do,
control.
because when Obama was in office and he asked Ginsburg, "Hey, can you step aside?" And what she was like 80 or 80 at that point. He's like, "No, I won't do it." It's like, you should have, motherfucker, because look what happened.
And not only was she 80, but she was also like had breast cancer, lung cancer, foot cancer,
Diane Feinstein,
cancer and retrograde.
you can go down a list, but it's not. Believe me, I know bias can be overwhelming. It's old people. It's if you've ever tried to talk your grandfather out of giving up his keys, you have to steal them from him. You have to do it when he doesn't know. And basically, you're giving up driving. Biden is in that place. He's not going to willingly step aside, no matter what the masses say, unless his wife and his family and all these people really kind of just urge him, and then at some point somebody's gonna have to find a way to steal the keys from him.
Just to address Ian, Nancy Pelosi actually did step down voluntarily, and that's why we have Hakeem Jeffries as the
she stepped down as speaker, but she's still a congressperson representing San Francisco.
Well, that's because she's still good at her job. She's a good fundraiser. And again, she stepped back from being the center of attention, and she's still doing things behind the scenes so that the younger people, they still get the funds. They still get they have her experience and clout behind them without her being up front. She has stepped back, and that's what I'm saying Biden should do as well. But if he doesn't, I'm still going to vote for him, because the alternative is Trump, and fuck no, not going to have a Trump.
All right.
If I could dig up my mother's ballot, my mother's been dead since 2015. My sister's been dead to 2005. If I find their fucking ballots around the house, they're voting this year.
Well, that's a dumb thing to say, because
of course it is. But I'm a dumb person.
Right. That will get used in some context.
Of course. See that. I realize that I'm not everybody's cup of tea when it comes to humor, but I think the intelligent people that listen to us, both of them, know that I'm just joking, because I wouldn't even know where to find their ballots. Matter of fact, I know my sister's not even registered anymore, because I was an election official in her district, and I made sure she was removed from the ballots when she.
Who's used that same line? I would think people would know I'm kidding.
Hitler.
Donald Trump.
No, but actually, Biden said yes. Was it Biden as a joke said something about taking a nap? I'm going to take more evening naps or something. Right. And then he said right after that, "I'm kidding." And then the headline still says Biden says he needs more naps to get to the evening. Like,
guess what? So does any 80-year-old need more naps. And most 65-year-olds I know need more naps.
I've been napping since kindergarten. I take an afternoon nap since kindergarten. It makes me get through the day better.
Yeah.
If I sleep during the day, I feel like shit afterwards. It's the worst experience of my life. I hate it. It's horrible. I wish I could nap.
I thought the call to release all the Epstein data was a bipartisan issue up until they released some of the Epstein data, and it revealed bad stuff about Donald Trump. Terrible. I mean, we all knew there was bad stuff about Trump on there, but terrible stuff about him. The phone calls every day, about 6 o'clock every fucking day, to check in with Jeffrey Epstein up until about 6 months before he died. It wasn't we were friends and then we cut off the relationship. No, you were still having fucking phone calls with him every fucking day. His phone logs show Donald Trump calling him every fucking day. And then the 12-year-olds, they're not covering any of that stuff. But all of a sudden, it's only a one-sided issue. That one now the Democrats know that there's stuff that is really damaging to Trump. If people knew about it or cared about it, they're all for it. And all of a sudden, the people on the right are like, "Why are they releasing this now?" Well, you're the same people who were calling for it. I mean, both parties were calling for it up until a week ago, and now
and some people, on that Trump side, will try and defend Trump and going to Epstein Island and hanging out with Epstein with the whole Bill Clinton thing. It's like both pieces of shit, people, both pieces of shit. And for to make your argument, like, well, Bill Clinton was there, so it's okay for Trump to touch young chicks too. No, he's still they're all chomos on that island. The one thing I love asking Pennsylvania disgrace Scott Perry on his congressional page and his representative page, the one thing I always ask him is like, would you rather leave your kids alone with your daughters alone with Trump or Matt Gaetz? But he still hasn't answered. I wonder why.
Well, it's a tough one. I don't know. Both of them like young girls, underage girls. I don't know. But
I would pick Matt Gaetz because there's a possibility that Matt Gaetz will take no for an answer, especially if you don't send him his Venmo. You don't replace his Venmo account. I think that's the difference. Trump doesn't use Venmo, so there's no stopping him.
Well,
and have that Venmo on public transactions too.
Trump has changed the paradigm, and I think RFQ thinks he can use it as well. Here's what I'm talking about. And by the way, RFQ is not going to be on the program, so the gloves are off. We can disrespect him all we want.
Thank God. There's more dirt coming out on him.
This is what I want to bring up. Okay. Trump has made it so that he literally can fuck a baby in the ass on Fifth Avenue with 1 billion eyewitnesses, and they will make an excuse for him. His people will excuse any bad behavior. I think RFQ thinks he's entitled to that same just forgiveness of no matter what he does, he should be able to get away with it. He was asked about the alleged sexual abuse of a 23-year-old. I believe it was a relative, a second cousin or something. And he said, "I told you I'm a bad person. I have skeletons in my closet." He didn't say, "No, I didn't do it." He didn't. I told you.
Is that the babysitter thing also? Is that that same person a babysitter?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he thinks that it's just going to go away with me not talking about, telling you, like locker room talk. You're not going to get away with that. Trump has Satan power to get away with that stuff. You are not entitled to that Satan mojo to convince people that they should not pay attention. Just to say, I told you I was a bad guy. I have skeletons in my closet is not enough. You have to address that. And he's not going to talk about it. That's the one thing. And then when asked about the picture where he was supposedly eating a dog and he said it was a goat, he was asked by Chris Cuomo, what the deal is. There's only a couple of things I wouldn't eat. I wouldn't eat a human and I wouldn't eat a dog. Beyond that, I would eat just about anything else. So you're going to eat the cat?
In his defense, it was a suckling goat. They look like dogs once they're skinned.
That's fine.
Yeah, you just shoot the puppy in the head.
That's not the point. The point he said, I wouldn't need a human, I wouldn't need a dog, and that's about it. That's not the way. He needs a PR person to talk about it because
I would eat a cat before I'd eat a dog.
Why? Because of the names, pussy, and that's it.
Well, I mean, no, but I guess thinking about it now, yes, that too. But I mean, if the world went to shit, I would definitely eat a cat before a dog.
Skunk? Yeah. You eat skunk? You like skunk?
I mean, I've had armadillo, squirrel, raccoon. mean, I'm sure.
That's right. In other words, Indiana cuisine.
No, I grew up in Southern Alabama.
Sorry, Alabama.
My aunt literally made what was called roadkill stew. They would go out, they'd hunt all these little animals and put them in one big stew.
Wow. Well,
yeah.
Again, coming out and saying I wouldn't eat a human, and that was his line of defense. He needs a PR person. He's just like, Trump would get away with that. Trump would get away with anything, really. He could literally, he was correct when he said, I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and not lose a single vote. He could and has.
It's just such a scary thing to think about, and nobody just seems to care.
Right. But RFQ thinks he is entitled to that same carte blanche forgiveness. And he's not. He doesn't have a cult.
There are people that care what Trump says, and those are those rhinos that have been amassed.
Ian just got us banned from every platform ever again.
Yeah, mainly because he's implying that they're not human. Because they just said he wouldn't eat a human, which would include them.
Ian, please backtrack a little bit and get us out of this, please.
And also, Ian, Mitch McConnell is stepping down at the end of this election in November as well, not November, January.
I know what Ian meant. I think Ian meant kosher stew is what he meant. Is what he meant by Jew stew. Kosher stew. What he meant.
And let's be honest, Mitch McConnell stepped down a couple years ago.
Yeah,
they've just been keeping that corpse alive.
No.
He stopped receiving updates, so they discontinued him.
There is a difference between shutting off and stepping down. He has
shut off.
Mitch McConnell is responsible for so much bullshit. He refused to bring impeachment to the floor in the Senate when it was clear they had the votes to. And say, you know what, he is enabled. He's the reason we have the Supreme Court debacle that we have. All that. He did not step aside. He may be you can make the argument he's been incompetent for years and shot for years, but he was at least coherent enough to fuck things up majorly.
Yes, he was extremely efficient and effective at being evil and bad to the working class person.
Yeah,
he was the corporatist best friend in Congress,
and he does kind of look like he looked like he was in that movie Hannibal, where he played the guy in the wheelchair, and they brought him to his farm, and he was going to kill Hannibal.
You know what? Movie references are useful.
I want to do something with the Supreme Court.
No, I don't get you. I don't get any. If you talk about The Godfather, you can use movie references, and I'll get them all. But,
this is the scene in The Godfather where they reel the old man in to kill Hannibal.
Yeah.
Goodfellas, I would get the references to. So just those two movies. That's it. Or maybe Ford Fairlane, Rock and Roll Detective. I get those references too. Those are my three movies.
After I destroy the Supreme Court, my only wife will shit on my face.
This chat is full of misinformation. All right.
Then stop putting it out there, Ian. Stop.
That debate was full of misinformation from Trump. So I mean, what's the difference?
Well, now see, he's saying the chat is not us. We're good. The chat is full of misinformation.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm just talking about misinformation in general.
Right.
Well, if misinformation would just settle down and find a man, I'm sure that she would be okay.
Well, misinformation keeps disinformation, and information is offended all the time. So
I don't know if you guys.
Misinformation can't do anything she wants with her own body. It's weird.
I know. Yeah. She needs to get out and vote.
I don't know. I think a lot of people are actively checking out of voting because of all this shit.
And that's the worst thing that they can do. That's the worst thing they could do is to check out. They need to get involved. They need to. There's an adage that says, "What evil succeeds or thrives when good people do nothing." And if good people sit back and don't vote, then we're going to wind up with a Project 2025 presidency. We're all going to be fucked. Conservatives and progressives and independents alike. We're all going to be fucked because we all need good, clean air. We all need safe food. We all need clean water. And all of that will be for sale. Okay, we all need good education. That's all going to be for sale to the highest bidder. So that's why we need to vote. And that's why we need to keep those assholes out of power. Project 2025. And Project 2025 is only called Project 2025 this time around. Because if Trump doesn't win, they're just going to change it to Project 2029. And if they don't win that year, they'll change it to Project 2033. It's a long-term thing. They've been at this for decades. They've been trying to get the
the term. Yeah, no, because you're just rambling now.
No, it's not rambling.
You are. Yes,
no,
I'm the determination of. I am the sole proprietor of the sole determinant of what rambling is on this program.
You mean like that? Oh, I'm sorry. Thanks for that example of what rambling is. Thank you.
No, I'm not rambling.
He's a rambling man.
Now, the term that nobody, and I disagree with you that, first of all, I think Trump is going to win. I think that Project 2025 will take power and destroy the norms that we know now. But I also think history shows that doesn't last very long. Now, some of us may get thrown in the oven. Some of us may just be getting thrown in concentration camps. Some of us may be forced to take a biblical citizenship test and fail. All those things are likely and true, but at some point those regimes don't last very long. Hitler's regime, if you look at it from the time like where he really took power till the end, a decade. Really? So
I may not have a decade to go through that shit.
I don't know. I will be dead very quickly in any of that situation. I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about America surviving it and coming back from it. I don't know. I don't know that it would definitely come back to where we are or where we were.
Even as bad shape as Biden may be in, whatever that is, I mean, yeah, the hardcore, like his base want him, but the country, I don't even think wants Trump again because he already did his bit. It wasn't very good. They can't handle crisis management. I think most people just love the day-to-day where it's not nonsense.
Nobody on his side believes.
Well, yeah, on his side, yeah, that's fine. I mean, those people need camps to become men or try to become men. But yeah, I think the country overall just they don't want either. They do not want either. And yeah, he might have.
That's the reason that RFQ is getting any kind of play at all because they don't want either. They know they don't want Marianne Williamson. They don't want what's his name, Cornell. They don't want any of those, but they do want something else. And some of them will vote for RFQ. Some of them will stay home because they just don't want to vote for either. But I don't discount.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with you that they'll stay home, especially with all the information with Project 2025 out there. I think people are just fed up. And we've seen the third party bit before with Ross Perot. I mean, RFK is not exciting as Ross Perot, and he can't speak. He's got that terrible voice. And I think that's what it's just when you look at the ticket. I mean, you got RFK, and he's the youngest, and the guy is 70 fucking years old. Then the next youngest guy is 78. Then the next guy is 81. It's fossil. It's fossil city.
No, I agree. And I'm not suggesting that at this point I think RFQ is going to win. I'm just saying he will take away some of those. And a lot of the people, you're talking about all the information of Project 2025 being out there. It's not, mainstream media isn't talking about it. Fox News certainly isn't talking about it. And keep this in mind. Whenever you go to any place where there is a public television screen, whether it's a facility, a hospital, a Jiffy Lube, where they have televisions on, it's Fox News. If you go to Planet Fitness, you're going to see 4 screens with either Fox News or Newsmax on, and you might get 1 or 2 with the CNN, which is now Fox News Lite, and MSNBC, which is also playing to ratings, trying to have more and more hard. They're not even talking about Project 25 or 2025.
MSNBC is talking about Project 2025. They are
not full time. People like Katie Turr, people like what's the morning? They are in Trump corner now on MSNBC. So you're getting a massive amount of information that is pro-Trump out there, still under the myth that he's somewhat a competent businessman, all that kind of stuff, and they'll make those arguments.
I don't think MSNBC is in Trump's corner. I don't think so. I think I'm saying
the network was. I didn't say the network was. They have people on their network that are, and they are supporting that, even though they've gotten lots of calls to remove those people from their base, but they're staying with them and supporting them because they bring in viewers and ratings. They're tolerating it now where they would not have tolerated it in the past. They made a shift in that. Katie, you cannot say Katie Turr is not completely in Trump's corner.
You're just talking about traditional media, because then once you get into like fucking TikTok and things like that,
the place where it's being force fed to or free fed to the drones who are not engaged, the people who are not living their lives in a political sphere, those people are getting the free stream of Newsmax and Fox News everywhere they go. Every single facility has Fox News playing on it in every television in the place. Every single facility.
Not around here. If you go to the Planet Fitness, they have that, but then they have the regular local news.
I was talking about hospitals and healthcare facilities and stuff like that, places like that. I promise you, the reason they do is because MSNBC is on a paid service. Fox News is free cable, and so they pump it in completely. Well, the country should really listen to 4 of you political analysts, experts. The country should get involved beyond watching Fox News, Mike. The truth is, if you only get your news, and you do, from talking heads of Tucker Carlson or Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham or any of the people on the right side, you're not doing your own fucking homework. At least these guys know what Project 2025 is. If you could explain it to me what you think it is, I would be shocked and amazed.
Well, and to be fair,
you can put that little dig out there, but honestly, really, you need to get a grip. You are purposely undereducating yourself and then acting like you have a voice. Your voice doesn't matter because you purposely dumb yourself down. Go ahead, Ron.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and we're pretty equal here. Like we just don't start fights with people in wheelchairs. We'll generally attack somebody with a walker because it's just more fun than to fight somebody in the wheelchair. Come on.
I don't know.
It's true.
Never attacked anybody with a walker. I had my thumb bit by a guy in a wheelchair. That was really awful.
But was that your father-in-law? Was that your father-in-law?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's family on family violence, which is really appalling.
No, I have a vote that you fear. No, nobody gives a shit about your one fucking vote. Your vote is the same, weighs the same as mine.
Is that the vote to reopen the island?
And nobody expects. And listen, you say, yeah, I have a vote that well, there's a lot of fucking people like you who are purposely uneducated, or purposely turning their brain over to a talking head to tell you what to think. And you can vote, but you don't vote. Who said I don't vote? What the fuck?
Who said any of us doesn't vote? In fact, I vote early. What are you talking about?
And I get
it out of the way because I don't like to fight the crowds. I get it.
I'm running for fucking office.
And I vote often.
Look,
I get every day.
Matt's running for office.
See,
I
that's
ran
not
for
helpful.
office. These two do their research. Like
I ran for office also. I just did not make it. I couldn't take the pressure. The FEC filings.
You don't have to do it if you don't.
It's stressful as shit.
Money or take any money in. You don't have to do any effort.
Well, I was woefully ignorant of some of those facts 20 years ago when I wanted to run.
I did it because I thought I was late and I thought I was going to get in trouble, and I called and I got permission to never have to file again.
Yeah, and I was running as an independent, I guess, just like you, Matt, and so it was. I had good policy, but I didn't have good candidate sense. I didn't know how to be a good candidate. I had good policies, but
you think I know how to be a good candidate? My total campaign has been on this show. I have.
Well, I'm saying it. No, but what I'm saying is you had the sense to at least know how to handle the FEC part of it.
I shouldn't say on correction. I did 2 television interviews, one that actually got aired, and then as soon as Santos dropped out, the NBC affiliate in New York just dropped it. So I only got one aired, and that was in the district. That did pretty well, surprisingly enough. People responded well to the clips of the talking points that I were making, and I was absolutely willing to take a pledge of one. Still am, if it all possible that I would get elected 1 term. I would not run for a 2nd term. I don't think that's necessarily the best for Congress people to just do 2 years and get out, because I think you're just learning the job in 2 years.
Yeah, I was offering 6 years at the most, and that's it. And I wasn't going to go for a higher office after that. I wasn't going to go for senator or governor or anything like that. I had a 6-year plan, get in and out, and that's it.
And every year I will offer. And every year I will offer free tasteful news to my constituents.
Oh, wait a minute, tasteful?
Yeah.
Tasteful?
Yeah, of course.
I've seen some of your nudes. Do you have other nudes that I haven't seen yet?
Everything is tasteful that I do.
What if I wanted the distasteful nudes?
That's going to cost
be a donor then.
Yeah.
No, okay, cool. Count me in.
The Supreme Court avoided ruling on whether Florida and Texas laws limiting how social media companies regulate content violate the First Amendment, sending the issue back to the lower courts for further review.
The state measures aim to limit how social media giants like Facebook, Instagram, and X manage user accounts and news feeds on their platforms. They were passed amid conservative concerns that the platforms were censoring viewpoints on their sites based on politics. Jessica Oakley reporting.
A Florida judge released the transcripts of a 2006 grand jury investigation into sex trafficking and rape allegations against the late millionaire and financier Jeffrey Epstein.
The investigation was the first of many by law enforcement over the past 2 decades into Epstein's rape and sex trafficking of teenagers, revealing how his connections with the wealthy and powerful allowed him to avoid prison or a serious jail term for over a decade. Kyle Norris reporting.
The Israeli army ordered a mass evacuation of Palestinians from much of Khan Yunis, indicating that troops are likely to launch a new ground assault in Gaza Strip's second largest city.
The order suggested Khan Yunis will be the target in the latest of Israel's repeated raids into parts of Gaza it had previously invaded over the past nearly 9 months, pursuing Hamas militants as they regroup. Much of Khan Yunis was already destroyed in a long assault earlier this year. Benjamin Wright reporting.
Illegal crossings along the U.S. southern border fell to a 3-year low in June after President Biden's significant actions to limit asylum and Mexico's ongoing efforts to deter migrants heading north, according to preliminary customs and border protection data.
Border Patrol processed about 84,000 migrants who crossed the U.S.-Mexico border without authorization in June, the lowest monthly level since Mr. Biden took office in January 2021, when the agency reported just over 75,000 migrant apprehensions, the internal statistics show. Paul Gomez reporting.
Gomez is fired.
This is the latest news headlines.
That was a terrible way. Are you checking out? Or is there more? There's more?
A helmet-mounted indoor visualization and navigation device that allows first responders to see through dark smoke could soon be available.
Oh, we can't see through that dark smoke, can you? They had in the story that the Epstein stuff came out detailing how people helped him stay out of jail. Wealthy and powerful people. They didn't say who, which is very convenient for people who don't want to know. But I will tell you who. Acosta, who Donald Trump appointed as into his cabinet, and William Barr are the two people that are named in the Florida legal papers who helped keep Jeffrey Epstein out of jail. So basically,
blows my mind that all these people.
It's important to say who those wealthy and powerful people are and who appointed them to senior positions within the United States government. So yeah, it's really uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable time.
I just wish they would announce what tax bracket you need to be in to be above the law and skirt accountability, because it would just make it easier for us to break the law. Then
I just don't understand why it's not why it's not a bipartisan thing to get everyone connected to this case and just blast them.
It was until it was revealed that Trump was on the phone with Epstein every day, and then Dershowitz, who was calling, I want everything out. Last week it was everything started to come out, and it was bad stuff about him. He said, I want a list of names of all these leftists who were trying to push for this stuff. All of a sudden, just 6 months ago, you were saying you wanted everything out. What happened?
You talk about voters being educated. I want to know which of these elected officials are doing this shit so we can not vote them back in. Fucking pedophiles, dude. And nobody seems to care.
Well,
I mean, my mind.
The whole bit, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that's what these conservatives want. They're out there oh, these people are doing stuff to kids. It's yeah, you're the ones doing it to kids. That's why you're making such a big stink about it. It's the same thing that happens all the time. The pastor who fucks his parishioners.
Yeah, dude. I just don't.
Yeah, Keith's camera's not on. I don't know whether I can even bring him in right now. Keith, if you hear me, I think we're ready to bring you in now, but you got to have your camera on. So
stay tuned, everybody, for the ExxonMobil bathroom cam.
Here it comes now. Let's get you out of here. I don't know. It looked like you tried to turn the camera on, but didn't turn the camera on. Keith, I
saw a flicker.
A flicker. Keith, can you hear us?
Flicker.
Keith Anthony Baird is it looks like he's in audio wise. Keith,
I think the reason we keep moving around like this is because no one's chalked Steven's wheels today.
He's trying to get it. Keith, can you hear us? No. He's been on the program before. This has worked before. He's unmuted. Maybe you need to reboot or something. I don't know. Connect. Maybe are you in the right browser? A good browser that works with this? I sent you a list of them. Anyway, we'll see. Maybe it's just.
Don't be a hater, Matt. Stop it.
Hater. Oh, there he is.
There he is. All right.
There he is. Let me see here. Good morning, Keith. Or good afternoon, or whatever it is where you are. How are you?
Unmute yourself.
Yeah, now you're muted. The light's not as important as the mic. Anyway, we were waiting,
and then you'll complain about the light.
Mute button on the microphone. There you go. Good.
Now can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yay! Fantastic. Got there in the end.
It seems like it's bright afternoon sunshine where you are.
Yes, it is. I'm trying to block it out. Just bear with me.
I don't remember. I know you're in Northern Europe somewhere. Where exactly are you? Oh, that's good.
Is that better?
All right. Yeah, that's good. Where are you? Where are you located?
Lake District.
Yeah, the Lake District, which is northwest England, just on the border with Scotland.
For some reason I had you in Northern Europe somewhere, like Norway or something like that. I don't know.
I'd like to be. That would be lovely.
So how was the election for you?
Oh, thank you for asking that question. Yes, we got the vampires out. Yeah.
Vampires?
Fantastic. We get our lives back now. Yeah, we got rid
Wait,
of.
I don't. Is vampires like a literal thing? I'm sorry for the naivety here, but vampire. There are people in this country who actually believe in vampires and believe they are them. We have a vampire society. Are you talking literal? Are some of those people involved with like that kind of vampirism?
It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if some of them were actually vampires, and drank the blood of babies. It just wouldn't surprise me at all, to be honest. I don't know that for certain, but just the way they've ran the country into the ground, it's just been horrendous for 14 years. And
now, why did it take 14 years to get them out?
Because we're stupid. That's why.
Okay.
We should have realized a long time ago that we're just totally stupid, and we just kept falling for their lies. Basically, I think what it is because we just haven't had a very credible opposition in order to take them down. But it's happened this time, and the country is just ecstatic, just absolutely ecstatic. So it's.
Wow.
I mean, I know yesterday was a big day for you guys, but it was just an absolutely awesome day for us. I stayed up late.
Well, yesterday we did have our Nathan's hot dog eating contest, and that was big news. So we had that. Now, but Keir Starmer was like very low key. I mean, like under his at least personality wise, he's like really he's boring, fucking boring. Is that it? Did y'all want boring? I mean,
yeah, I suppose the choice was, well, we can either have clowns like what we've had, or we can have boring. So we've chosen boring instead of clowns.
I would give my right nut for boring.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's a whole lot of clownery going on over there right now, isn't there?
Yeah, no. And politics is not supposed to be something that we live our lives just, constantly bombarded with political rhetoric from both sides and all this stuff. It's supposed to be something that in the background for and it's like an umpire, and I know you don't have baseball over there, but it's like an umpire in baseball. If you realize the umpire is there, he's not doing his job right. The best umpire is a guy who doesn't get any attention at all. Politics should be like that anywhere. It's where, you know what, let them do their job. If they're doing their job competently, it's not screaming time. And so I our best president ever, in my view, Teddy Roosevelt, and he used to nap every day on his porch. I like that.
Now, Keith, now if I'm wrong, got this wrong. Remember, I'm asking because if I got it wrong, I want you to correct me. But my understanding is that the political season campaigns last about 6 weeks in the UK, and that's it. That's it. You can't campaign for 7 weeks. It's like 6 weeks. And here we get campaigns that last for like 4 years sometimes.
Sometimes all the time.
How can you suffer that for 4 years? I mean,
we're stupid.
We make fun of it continuously without breathing.
It's
all the
exhausting.
time.
To be honest, it's totally exhausting.
We just have old men that just need attention, and
I think that's pretty much a universal concept, to be honest, because there's a lot of them over here too who just simply won't go away.
So
we kind of say, well, you've had your time in office. Now can you just off, basically? But they don't. They just want to hang around and hog the limelight for some reason.
Now, bringing this back to you and your craft, you write dark
crap. Yeah, I write.
And apocalyptic type themes and these kind of stuff. Is a good day and things turning happy, or is that bad for you? For your creative muse?
No, it gives me more fuel to write some real dark crap. You know what I mean? It's just like, things have got good now, but it doesn't change what goes on in my head. It's kind of like, I'm still gonna think about, kind of end of the world scenarios and lots of horrific stuff going on. But I mean, look, it's all make believe, isn't it? It's kind of like, I don't know, you go and see a band on stage and you're seeing a performance, you go to cinema, you see a piece of fiction there. It's all these things are just a performance.
Right.
That they're not really about real life.
Yeah.
If I was writing non-fiction, then yeah, I would probably focus on what's really happening in the world.
Yeah, I was discussing emotional sobriety on Wednesday night with a guest, and it's talking, and I said my emotions, whether they get carried away with them or lose control of my emotions, those are the things that have really fed my art, and if I'm feeling sad, I can channel that into a song. If I feel angry, I can channel that into a song. Being emotionally driven by stuff, and I think if I'm too happy, my music's gonna suck. It is. I mean, nobody. You can point to a few like really happy songs that have been had mass appeal, but people don't like la di da kumbaya. Let's all hand. So but I just think the environment will definitely set my mood, and if my mood is too happy, my art suffers.
Well, I think it's kind of like if you listen to a good song, it's kind of like a sort of roller coaster ride. There's kind of like tension and release in there.
Yeah.
And you can put a lot of angst into music, and it can still be really captivating for people's emotions.
Yeah.
I mean, just listen to classical music. It's just such a ride, isn't it? It's just so many emotions are going on in that. So yeah, and I think fiction's kind of the same, but it's I don't know if you can kind of get that same sort of reaction to something that's fiction doesn't really sort of envelop you, whereas if you're in a concert and you're sort of totally drawn into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
I went to Budapest. I went to the Franz Liszt Academy, and they were playing classical orchestra there, and it was amazing because you felt completely immersed in that experience. Back in the day, I might have gone to a Slayer concert or something like that. You know what I mean? It would just be like this most intense kind of atmosphere. Can books really do that? I think books are kind of more of a sort of introspective thing. They might take someone on an inward journey rather than a kind of outward experience of something.
Yeah. And that's kind of, more and more that inward journey is going to audiobooks and those kind of stuff, rather than, because I think there is a difference between the inward journey you take when passively listening to somebody read to you, as opposed to reading to yourself. And I think that has changed a lot. Do you take that into account when writing? Like if somebody's listening, I don't know. I didn't even ask if you do audiobooks, but I'm assuming you do audiobooks for your books.
Well, I did when I first started out, when I was self-published, because I went down the Amazon and the Audible route. But then, of course, in their infinite wisdom, Amazon changed basically the goalposts with Audible. They created a situation for the authors whereby someone can subscribe to Audible. They can basically get your book. They can listen to it. They've got something like 14 days to listen to it, and then they can just return it and get their money back.
Right.
So as an author, you're just robbed of your royalty, because Amazon says, well, the customer is king. They didn't like this. That's why they returned it. But no, the customers cottoned on that they could actually just get books for free.
Yeah, if you give people a way to get your product for free, they're going to find a way to use that, whether they're satisfied or not.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't do audiobooks anymore, because there's simply no royalties in it for me anymore. So
interesting.
So, Keith, I have to ask this question, because you're in the UK. I'm going to be polite and say I think we're about the same age. I was born in 1959. But so we're both in our 30s.
10 years younger than you.
I'm saying we're both in our 30s, is what I'm saying.
He's a rude fuck. I just want to say a rude fuck.
Well, I should say the same generation. I should have said the same generation. But did
same
you
century?
Yeah, the same. By chance, do you love Sensational Alex Harvey Band as much as I love the Sensational Alex Harvey Band?
Sorry, I missed all that because we were all.
Do you love Sensational Alex Harvey Band as much as I love the Sensational Alex Harvey Band?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was born at the end of '69. Yeah. So when I was a kid, I was growing up with punk rock in the UK.
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I remember, God, I must have been about 7 or 8 years old, but I remember with my pocket money and going with my older brother, I'd go into a record store and I'd buy the Sex Pistols, you know.
Right.
So I kind of started off with punk, and then went into metal music, and then from there went into kind of like atmospheric folk music and goth music, and then classical music. So that's really sort of been my journey with music.
Wow.
So no, I mean anything really from like the 60s or something. I would say there'd probably be bands like the Doors, maybe the Animals.
I think Sensational Alex Harvey Band was brought the 70s. At least I think they peaked in the 70s.
Well, I kind of missed that throughout my childhood, I guess. It just kind of, because we had the punk rock explosion over here. Everything was just kind of focused on that. I mean, they were constantly on the TV. It was all anti-establishment. And I guess probably the kind of little anarchist in me was kind of, I love this,
Anarchist.
Anarchist. I was a little anarchist because I didn't like authority whatsoever,
Listen,
so,
I think anybody below the age of 10 or somebody is an anarchist, at least in some respect, behavior-wise. Rebelling against the man. The man is mom and dad.
Well, I think I think law requires that. I think that is by law.
Yeah. Now, before because I want to ask about the books and work, because you're so prolific, and I don't know what's your latest book. I'm looking at Amazon. I'm like, well, look at all these friggin' books. Which one is the most recent one? What do you got? You want to? Hold on. Let me show you. Yeah, I thought that might be it, but it's not listed as the first book on Amazon. You still got Jesus Man listed as the first one on Amazon. So
yeah, well, Synthetica is the latest.
Yeah.
Via Bridget's Gate Press in Kansas.
Yeah.
That one essentially is a cyberpunk noir. So if you want a bit of an explanation about that.
Yeah, I would love an answer. First of all, what you just said, cyberpunk noir. When I think of noir, I think of like, that overdone film technique where we make it look like an older thing on purpose. And it's I don't know, it can fool a lot of people like I'm watching an old movie when it's brand new, but cyberpunk, boy, I don't know what to make of that title. It's a very complicated picture you just drew with 3 little words there, cyberpunk noir. Explain the genre.
Right. Well, okay. Essentially, cyberpunk is kind of born out of dystopian settings. Yeah.
Yeah.
So your typical dystopian setting, 1984, Brave New World, that kind of thing. So it's a far-flung future where everything is, society is kind of like degraded. We're very much oppressed. I mean, that kind of feels like it's
That's
now,
not that
really.
far in the future, then. You're talking about like next month?
Yeah, next week. Yeah. Yeah. So basically, what it is you have a situation where it's 2097, so it's quite a way off in the future. And you have a very different geopolitical landscape. Like at the moment, the rest of the world kind of thinks that China's going to be the enemy, along with Russia and North Korea and blah, blah, blah. But in this work of fiction, everything has totally changed. The geopolitical landscape is different. And Japan has actually risen up to be like a superpower, kind of like almost what it did in World War II. So you then have a situation where America, Europe, the UK, we're kind of aligned with China. I know it's completely fiction. It's never going to happen, but that's
I don't know.
in this scenario.
It's hard to be predictive about those things.
Well, it is, but I kind of doubt it would happen. But anyway, so the idea is that there's this coalition force with U.S. Marines, British troops, Chinese troops. They go in and smash Japan. Yeah. So you have a Marine called Balam Hendricks who gets kind of really badly injured in that last conflict when they're taking Tokyo. Yeah. So then it kind of cuts to sort of about another dozen years in the future, and he's decided to stay there in Tokyo when he's been repaired by surgery in a field hospital, and he becomes like a feared bounty hunter because it's kind of like a new frontier. It's kind of like a lawless frontier. There's lots of different sort of factions there. There's the kind of the French Quarter, there's the American Quarter, the German Quarter. And basically what it is he becomes a feared bounty hunter, but a crime lord asks him to seek out a rogue employee who's stolen something from him. But this guy has gone into an immersion program, so kind of like VR, but it's more like augmented reality. So he's escaped inside of this corporate entity where Synthetica offers you a different life, a better life than the one that the dystopian setting is. So this bounty hunter normally just kills people. Yeah, that's what he does.
Right.
But he has to make a decision that he's going to go into this augmented reality program to try and get this guy out. Now, that's the premise of the story, but it's not really the story. The story that's really going on behind involves the US military and one of their sort of PSYOP programs. So there's kind of like 3 layers of immersion to it.
Wow.
And you're kind of like a first-person reader on the shoulder of the bounty hunter as he's going through these things. So it's like 3 levels of immersion before you come out at the end and find out what's really going on.
Now, when you're writing this and you're trying to kind of envision a world of the future, do you concern yourself? Because what would stop me is like my pessimism of that there actually is going to be a future, but just the pessimism of that the predictability of the world right now. I'll come back to when I was in elementary school, we read books about the year 2000. And this was in the 1960s. And basically, a lot of that stuff was close to what we were told to expect. I remember looking at books of cars of the future and thinking, wow, they all look like spaceships. A lot of it came true. A lot of it was off, like they didn't envision SUVs. But the predictability of this stuff was more reliable then than it is now. Things are changing so fast. AI, robotics, the threat of nuclear war is more prevalent than ever. Just the predictability of what lies in the next 10 years is far more difficult than it was 50 or 60 years ago. Do you concern yourself with, like, am I getting this right, or I'm just going to let myself fantasize about the world that I envision, whether it has a snowball's chance in hell of being reality, or just, I don't care.
Well, I mean, obviously, there's, as you just mentioned, like AI now is kind of starting to infiltrate into everything. It's in your phones, it's in your browsers. I mean, even sort of like 10 years ago, that sort of thing seemed so far away, but like now it's here. I mean, I don't really sort of ever concern myself about if I'm going to set something that's in the future. I don't really concern myself about what's happening now or what might happen in 10 years from now or 25, because ultimately it's just a work of fiction.
Yeah.
And certainly with Synthetica, it's kind of, I've got all of these kind of obvious tropes in there. I've got like flying cars. I mean, everything you would have saw in Blade Runner, you're going to read in Synthetica, but there's a specific reason for that. And the reason is it's all based around what the ex-soldier would deem that futuristic city would look like based upon his experiences. So it's not that, because this futuristic city doesn't exist. It's basically a decimated wasteland with the broken ruins of a city.
Yeah, I
You
get
know?
it. It's a place for people who live in today's world to escape to it, and whether it's a portrait of of a prediction of the future is not relevant to the experience of.
Yeah, it's not relevant because everybody that would be in this kind of program that the military have come up with, all of their ex-troops, it's about rehabilitation. So you've got troops who are broken in war, yeah, and then they would normally go to a veterans hospital, and then they would get some treatment for PTSD, and then they would be probably pushed out into society and sort of like, well, now you just have to make a new life for yourself. Well, the whole premise of the book is about, well, the military are going to actually do something for their veterans. They're going to give them an option of a new life. So they immerse them in this fully augmented program where they can live a new life. Yeah. So they're actually in suspended animation in pods, and they're being monitored by medical staff and all the rest of it on an island facility somewhere. So it's none of it is actually real. There's just no part of it that is actually real, other than they're in a military program. That's the real part of it all.
Now, Keith, of the books you've written, if someone were to offer you an opportunity to make one into a movie as your, which one would you want to be the first book to represent you in a movie of your books?
I think probably the one I'm talking about now, Synthetica. I think I would like that one to be first. I mean, one guy over in Montana, he just literally left a review, and he said he could, while he was reading it, he could picture it in black and white. And I guess that's obviously the kind of strong noir element that it has.
Yeah.
So I guess if visually, if you had sort of Miller's Sin City, Blade Runner, and The Matrix, you're going to get a combination of all of those elements. It's going to what Synthetica would look like.
Interesting. Yeah? I think that that probably is the best genre for current filmmaking. What would have the most appeal to it? I would say that most people I know that are of your generation, which we call Gen X, I guess. My wife, she sees 1 second of black and white and she tunes out. So it's like she can't watch things in black and white. I think it's just growing up in the full color age what does something to people. Stephen, you'd be a good test on it. Do you watch stuff in black and white ever? Can you tolerate black and white film or television?
I can tolerate black and white. In fact, that genre that he's speaking of is one that I'm semi familiar with. I mean, I feel like The Matrix had a very cyberpunk noir feel to it. Ready Player One had that sense and feel to it as well. I think it's great.
Yeah, Stephen can tolerate black and white film. He just can't tolerate black and white people together.
Whoa, that's not completely true. I sit next to you right now. Look at this. This ain't racist at all. Thank you.
Oh, what happened?
Thank you. I feel better now. Oh God, it's back. No, I'm just kidding.
It's back.
It's back. You know what? What strikes me as I'm listening to Stephen talk, because him and I think Ron is also a bit of a gamer. This might, and we're seeing a lot of like film concepts taken almost directly to video game now, bypassing the movie and stuff. Sounds like that there's a video game concept that possible as a way to, rather than films, a gaming aspect to this kind of novel. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you turn that into a first person massive online multiplayer game, and you have factions, different nationalities, with different weapons and different looks. I'd buy that. Buy that all day.
Interesting thing. Keith, have you ever thought about that as an option for your work?
I've been asked this question before, and there's certain pieces of work which I feel would lend themselves to that, and obviously Synthetica would. And there's a few others that I've written I think would probably work, but I think in the main they're probably more cinematic than anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, the way I'm heading at the moment is I'm trying. I've got a post-apocalyptic alien invasion trilogy that I'm working on. and that's the first time I've done something that's kind of like a series or a trilogy. I've only ever done standalone pieces of work before.
Now, in the context of today's society, are these aliens intergalactic or are they from another country?
They're intergalactic.
Well, are they in the same intergalactic or interdimensional? Because a lot of people, all the conjecture now is not all the conjecture. There's a lot of conjecture now that they're not necessarily from other places. They're from this place, but in a different dimension.
Listen, man, as long as they ain't brown, I don't care.
like Buckaroo Banzai.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they could be interdimensional. I mean, I don't really go into their origin story, to be honest.
Right.
It's more a case of what happens is this artifact appears above our world. I mean, I guess it would look like an alien satellite, but it's just basically a big black triangle, and it just positions itself and parks itself above our orbit. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And then what happens is it kind of opens up, and then it releases what is essentially a metal plague. So that plague, well, actually, it plunges through the atmosphere and it plunges into the Greenland ice sheet, is what it does. And then it opens up, and this metal plague comes out. So basically, any metal element on the planet comes under attack. So whether that be iron, steel, gold, whatever it is, copper.
Great, my people are screwed immediately.
So this metal plague goes around the world, and it takes out all of our infrastructure, all of our capability to be able to fight back.
Screw that! It's going to take out my knee.
Absolutely, yes.
My wheelchair.
You'll be one of the first to fall over. Yeah, when it's right. And then obviously so all of our weapon systems are all destroyed. All of our communication systems are all destroyed.
Not to mention the metal plate in my head.
Oh well, you're fucked.
See, look, the trope don't end. Black guy's the first one to die.
Yeah, typical sci-fi. Typical sci-fi.
Yeah. So, and then obviously our nuclear power plants go into meltdown because they have, like, I don't know, backup systems or whatever. But then that all fails. So basically, we're plunged into a situation where we're plunged into the Stone Age again. Yeah. Wow. People are standing there, even their fillings fall out of their teeth. You know, that's what happens. So we then they send their armada after that. So we're then faced with trying to fight off a highly advanced alien force with technology and weaponry, and we've basically got stone axes. That's what and flint arrows. That's what.
Well, we also have rage and pain, because if you've ever had a filling fall out of your mouth and their air hits it, you're quite angry, and you're going to go after the people.
Just an idea, but that sounds amazing. Now, if we can just add an Amish superhero into the mix, who's like, finally, this is my time, and he just rides in like a wooden car, and like that'd be awesome.
Good point. Yeah,
I tell you what, that's going to go in book 2. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to center it on the Amish community, where the real rebellion is going to.
What I'm curious about it, because you said you don't go into the origins of the aliens, and I definitely, it doesn't serve your book, and why should you?
No.
But earlier, like when you're talking about vampires, and I had to question, we're talking real, because 40 years ago, I did a radio show, and I had every paranormal kind of guest on. I had a director of the New York Vampire Institute, Stephen Kaplan, who had tons of people who thought they were really vampires. And, it's overwhelming how many people have just crazy beliefs. Do you ever allow yourself to kind of explore the kind of ideas that you put in your books, whether it's aliens or any of this stuff? Do you allow yourself in the real world to kind of explore those? I don't want to call them all conspiracy theories. Some of them are just nut job theories. But do you go down that road of Bigfoot or any of those kind of things that to think about them and give them serious thought?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I look at lots of different things, and like you say, it's kind of scary how some people can just like fully embrace these things without any real evidence, just purely based on enthusiasm alone, just because they want to. I mean, sometimes I worry about people's mental capacity, but then other times I think maybe it's just kind of, it could be social factors. It could be, you know,
I
this.
think it's social factors.
Yeah, it could be some guy who's a complete loner in a basement somewhere or something, and he's just doesn't have any friends. Or
either that, or my theory, and this is my conspiracy thing. It's not a conspiracy. It's just a theory about human development. We are at a point where everybody feels insignificant, or everybody has a touch, at least an element of that. Because I'm not one of the A-list people, the pretty people who get and talk about. I need something to make me a special human being, 1 in 8 billion that matters. What's my lane that to actually be a special person? Well, I can have specialized knowledge about the Earth being flat, or I could have specialized knowledge about whatever it is, conspiracy theory that they pull out. And I feel like that makes people feel like, oh, see, I am special because I know something everybody else doesn't know, whatever it is. But there's a lot of that going on.
Now Keith, different countries and stuff have like their one mythical thing that they're chasing. Like here we have Bigfoot, and Mothman, I guess. In Scotland, I think they have Nessie. Is there like one of those creatures in the UK that people are constantly seeing or trying to prove exists? Other than Sunak, is there like a creature there that there people are spotting all the time?
Charles.
To be honest, no. Like, you know, for a long time it was the whole Nessie thing, but I mean, it was kind of, you know, it was just a tourist gimmick, really, wasn't it? It was just used by the Scottish tourist industry just to, you know, get people across the border and get people to buy stuff from them, you know, like a fluffy Loch Ness toy or a mug or something like that, you know. But I mean, there just generally isn't really anything here that.
What about Beasts of Exmoor or Boggarts or Red Caps?
Yeah, but it's kind of old hat now. It's kind of like completely disappeared from the public consciousness, really. I mean, the media don't ever give it any kind of coverage at all. And I think we kind of live in a society now everywhere around the world where if something isn't getting a lot of coverage, it just kind of like, it just falls off a cliff, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It just disappears from the consciousness.
GD mentioned Mothman. You could get rid of Mothman.
Sorry?
I knew Banshees were a big deal in the UK.
More in Ireland. More in Ireland than here.
Yeah. This is today's date is 1824 or 1924.
I love cryptids, man. I do. It's a guilty pleasure. I love the cryptid thing.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of like a big thing in horror circles, isn't it? I mean, I know tons of. I mean, I do horror as well, and I know quite a lot of American horror authors, indie authors. And they love all the cryptid stuff, and you know they're writing about it. I mean, there's like Laurel Hightower just did one about Mothman, you know. So it's
Mothman
kind of,
you get rid of just by turning the light off. You can get rid of it.
You know, there was a supposed Mothman sighting at the Baltimore Bridge before it collapsed.
Yes, I saw the documentary recently. I don't know where it was on, whether it was Netflix or Prime or something.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
I live near Baltimore. And I didn't hear that.
Some kind of military installation nearby or something as well, wasn't it? Yeah.
This would be a good time to introduce ketamine therapy from our sponsor.
And say goodbye to Govs.
Oh yeah, I'll say goodbye. You know what? I don't even know if he's doing a show anymore. I think he might have quit.